Philippines Football League train as we are down to our final match of this Sunday triple header and our last chance to catch some local football action before we go into the international break. We have one Taguig FC squaring off against Philippine Army FC in the first round of the Philippines Football League 2025-2026 season. My name is Jamer De La Cruz alongside my good friend and partner Glenn Casas back on the mic. How have you been, my friend, and what are you expecting for this matchup between these two teams?
Well, it has certainly been a good Sunday to drive to the Rizal Memorial Stadium. And we are certainly in for another good match here, as this could as well plant one of the teams further into their current position.
Well, we're going to be expecting a comeback of sorts for your first team for tonight. One Taguig FC, after falling against tonight's victors between Manila Digger FC and Tuloy FC, losing 1-0 against Manila Digger. You would expect that one Taguig FC will surely try to climb back up into the standings. As you take a look, they started off with a great win against Cebu FC, 2-1, followed by a 3-0 win over Aguilas Sumac FC, but they were brought back down to earth by Manila Digger.
Well, it is still too early to say, as because the season has just started and all of the teams are still trying to jockey for position, and not only that, but they're also adjusting to strategies, they're adjusting to the newcomers, they're also adjusting to the new league, well, technically the new season, and getting themselves into the right place.
Well, everybody's going into the right place at the same time for one Taguig FC, as we have a quick look on the starting 11 for one Taguig. Plenty of changes on their starting lineups, but one thing to look out for is their new signing wearing that number 20, Mark Hartman. Used to be with Stallion Laguna FC, now he's with one Taguig FC. What do you make up of this transfer for Mark Hartman?
Quite an important one, so to say, because Mark Hartman is a very good player in midfield. You know that you can take advantage of his long passing, his long range in general. He can shoot from distance and he could make those incredible passes. Plus, the height advantage really gives off that control in midfield, especially if one Taguig would like to get the ball over the air.
Well, Mark Hartman is expected to be one of the playmakers, if not the goal scorers for one Taguig FC, but it's important as well that we look into what Coach Scott Cooper has in the bag for their side in this game against Philippine Army.
Good evening. Well, the thoughts for this game is really, it's more about a reaction from last week. You know, it was a game that we are bitterly disappointed with. Both result and, more importantly for me, performance was unacceptable on many levels, and so we're looking for a reaction from that. We allowed ourselves to be taken out of our flow, if you like, sort of last week, and we didn't find the answers, so we're disappointed in that. So this should be a reaction, so we can continue to build and look forward to a good game and moving forward.
That was Coach Scott Cooper of one Taguig FC. He talked about the disappointments from that game, conceding early against Manila Digger FC, has been outshot and outnumbered in possession-wise against Manila Digger FC. But they're going to look to bounce back against the other side of the field, which is Philippine Army. Still winless, still scoreless as well for Philippine Army, but what's to look out for the Philippine Army out here?
Well, Philippine Army has been one of those clubs that they've been playing together for quite a while as a unit. And that's why we were kind of hoping that the chemistry would somehow make its way onto the field. But at the same time, you have to understand that there is some sort of disparity when it comes to the experience that the bigger clubs currently offer, but that could really overpower the chemistry of this team.
Well, looking onto the last 3 games for Philippine Army, really isn't pretty for them, especially their opening match against the league champions Kaya FC Iloilo, losing 12-0, followed by a 1-0 loss against Mendiola, and then Aguilas winning 2-0 against them. But it's time for them to, let loose against one Taguig FC. As we have a quick look at the starting lineups for Philippine Army. You look into this side, we've heard the rundown of the squad earlier on. And who would you look out for in this Philippine Army side?
Well, right now we have no choice but to look into their striking capability right now with Ariola, the number 27, up in front. And the pressure really now is with him because they have not scored in the last 3 games, and it is really important for the front man to really do his job, be the front man, not only be able to receive the ball in tight spaces, but at the same time he really needs to take his chances.
Well, in that 4-1-4-1 formation for Coach Ronel Hiner and the Philippine Army, you would expect that Jimuel Ariola is going to deliver in this game. Over the last 3 games, he hasn't delivered, but it's going to be a question mark as how he's going to perform in this game. With that, we also want to hear it from Coach Ronel Hiner of Philippine Army.
So, unang-una is pakam na pakam kami na makakuha ng panalo sa PFL. At sana, hopefully, maibigay sa amin yung panalo ngayong araw na to. Lahat naman nag-prepare, yung squad ng Army team, nag-prepare naman para sa larong ito.
That was Coach Ronel Hiner, one of the legends as well of Philippine football setup, wanting. At sabi nga niya, uhaw na sila sa panalo dito sa Philippines Football League, being the bottom dwellers of the league. You would hope that they will try to challenge a thirsty one Taguig FC in this matchup before we head into the break. And the walk-ins, what are your expectations in this game, Glenn?
Well, we're really the expectation versus the reality of things. We're expecting that hopefully Philippine Army would be able to find their stride, be able to put up a decent fight against one Taguig, who is currently still struggling from their last game. But realistically, we're really looking at something that could be a one-sided match.
Well, a matchup of teams in almost the same location. One Taguig FC and Philippine Army FC is up on deck tonight here at the Rizal Memorial Stadium for the last game of tonight's triple header. Stick with us. When we come back, it's the last game between One Taguig FC and Philippine Army FC here at the Philippines Football League. John Pineda, assisted by Hussein Magusara and Analu Arrogante. Our match commissioner is Mark Abel de Castro. Of course, we don't forget our fourth official for this game is Mr. Michael Baras. Two sides from almost the same place. Of course, Philippine Army base in Taguig, and they're squaring off against One Taguig. Again, quick look on the starting lineups for One Taguig FC. You have Matthew Custodio, Hamed Hajimadi, you have Kurt Dizon, Mark Hartman, Oliver Bias. You look at the starting lineups and then you look at the bench. Quality on all fronts for Coach Scott Cooper. And on the other side for Philippine Army, reservists. You've heard the call outs earlier on with their titles or ranks, if we may say. And let's see what can Philippine Army do against One Taguig. But for now, let's go to a minute of silence for our kababayans who were affected by the earthquakes and the typhoon.
For the victims of the recent earthquake at Cebu,
Our thoughts and prayers to everybody who were affected by the earthquakes in Cebu, as well as the typhoon, or the victims of Typhoon Opong. And we hope that we could bring in some positivity with this game tonight between One Taguig FC and Philippine Army. Lovely touch as well by the league, who is in solidarity with also our friends from Cebu, with Cebu FC doing their donation drive, I believe, for all those affected by the earthquake. And wag ho kayo mag-alala, hindi ho kayo nag-iisa. Kasama niyo ho kami rito.
Yes, very, very unfortunate events in the last few days. And all our thoughts, our prayers are certainly with everybody who's been affected by the calamities.
Well, tonight is a night to enjoy some football action, as this is the last club football match in the Philippines Football League for the start of October. And now we go into the kickoff. Of course, after this, our teams will go into their well-deserved break due to the international window, which will pave way for our Philippine men's national football team's journey to qualify once again for the AFC Asian Cup, which will happen in October 14 at the new Clark City Stadium. Early attack here from Philippine Army, looking to get out of the gates early, but they can fall with a save for One Taguig.
Really close with that particular delivery into the box. There were already two ready to pounce on that.
So you have Hartman right now playing deep into that side. Again, a dynamic midfielder for One Taguig FC. We could say it's a good signing for One Taguig FC after his exploits with Stallion Laguna. We have a look at his first few minutes here with One Taguig. Counter-attack right now for Philippine Army, but Ryan Anthony Desena unable to get a touch to it.
Unfortunate for Desena there. He already was in a good space to make that run. Couldn't get the touches in.
Early proceedings here. You have One Taguig not opting for their usual formation they used last time. They were on a 4-1-4-1, but this time around they have a 4-1-3-2 formation. What do you make up of the formation of One Taguig right now?
Well, they are certainly looking to exploit the new and revamped midfield. Looking at how they changed the current lineup today, they have made a bit of focus in controlling the ball right in the middle of the park, and that could mean something na gusto nga nila yung delivery magiging suabe from the midfield into the final attacking third. And that's quite important if you want to transition from defense to attack. But again, Philippine Army is not that much of an attacking team unless they can prove otherwise tonight.
Well, they certainly are going to be challenged here, Philippine Army, hoping to get out of that losing streak that they have. Foul called against One Taguig FC. That was number 23, Abdul Yusuf. And you pointed out that midfield is the name of the game for One Taguig FC. You have another creative mind there. You look into Ronel Henero, of course, one of the legends in Philippine football, looking for that first win in the bag for Philippine Army.
Parang gusto ngang maiba ng konti ni Coach Nerang approach ng Philippine Army. They may be using the similar formation here, but defensively and offensively, medyo may nag-iba.
Ooh! Ooh! And that is nothing short of difference for One Taguig FC as they open the scoring in just 3 minutes in this game. Great goal from, I think that was number 18, Goldson Casimero.
Yeah, Casimero with a great space there. Let's have a look at this replay. First one just gets away from his man. Header. And that was as clean as you'd like. And that's the problem that I was looking at earlier when I was mentioning na may konting pagbabago. Because in the previous game, Army kind of want to stick with a more tighter formation. But this time around, they have plenty of space. Tingnan mo yung gap sa pagitan ng bawat player sa loob. They have pretty much given a lot of space inside that box.
That's a great look of the goal, courtesy of our quad cam from Upstream Sports. And first goal in the bag for One Taguig FC in this matchup. That was textbook Kurt Dizon play there. Running down the wings on the left side, curling ball inside the box, and header for Casemiro to open things up in the 3rd minute of this game.
My mistake pala. Basa ko double 9 eh. 19 lang pala. But yes, you could certainly see the run right there. He was being given a lot of space to really make that. It was almost unchallenged. And just like the header, there was nobody there to at least intercept.
Well, One Taguig looking to go for another goal there. Mark Hartman heads it back. And Hamed Hajimadi trying to win the ball. And Army now on the right side with 21 Bernardo. Finding Ariola, who is being pressured to score a goal. At least one goal right now for Philippine Army.
Kung mapapansin natin, nasa gilid na ng field ngayon si Ariola as opposed to what they were saying that he's gonna be the tip of the sphere.
And on the counter-attack is One Taguig. Oh, what a goal that is! Naoto Hiraishi just keeping that on the down low and out of reach of Mark Anthony Badia. Quick 1-2 for One Taguig, and it's 2-0 inside the first 5 minutes.
Wow, just like a double-barreled shotgun, you have another one in the chamber just ready to take that shot. And Naoto, a really composed shot there, waiting for that replay for that other angle. Let's have a look at it this way. Ayan yung takbo niya. You could see that the ball was well placed to just be in front of him to just make that run, that first touch. Nicely done, that touch there, setting himself up, and the shot accurate as you like.
Didn't need any power, just placement. And again, a good look from our quad view replay by Upstream Sports. What an angle, what a shot for Naoto Hiraishi. And 2-0 now for One Taguig. I think they've already exploited that pocket of space on the left side, Glenn.
Yeah, and I think Army has been giving them too much respect. They wanted to prepare maybe to put a foot in sa harapan, but again, you have to count that they are capable of doing those kinds of passes and those kinds of shots.
Well, we're afraid that we might be in for a goal fest, but not a pretty one. Let's see what the Philippine Army can do as they try to claw their way back. Being down by 2 goals in the first 5 minutes of the game, is it something easy? Especially with a stacked lineup like One Taguig, Hamed Hajimadi, freeing up Agyemang on the left. Here's now to Hiraishi again on the left side. Across. That's just out wide for Casemiro. Goal scorer of the first goal inside the first 3 minutes. Just missing the mark.
Bigla silang nag-revert to factory settings si Philippine Army. They are now compressing their three-man defense right inside that box. But still, there's some space being left on that side. And it's really quite easy for One Taguig to exploit with the long passes and the accurate touches that they're getting.
I think this is Jasor Soriano feeling something in his ankles. But he's back up. Of course, with his exploits in the past with Kaya FC Iloilo and then moving over to Philippine Army as a reservist, you would expect that quality is still there, but really not showing in the first 5 minutes with them conceding 2 goals. Here's another chance, but this time Badia gets to it.
Ooh. Oh, an extra touch right there, unnecessarily.
Yusuf clutching his stomach there. We'd have to take a look on what happened. But Philippine Army looking to move forward. Jimuel Ariola unable to get a touch to it. He kicked the ball out for a throw-in. Yusuf right now complaining to referee Mick John Pineda. I think a card is going to be brandished out here, or it's just going to be a talking to.
Parang mahirap din mag-decide if you are not in the best spot to really have a look at what happened off the ball.
Well, Mick John Pineda is on his way to the halfway line. When that happened, I think may siko ba? May pinaramdam ba ni Badia na nandun siya?
Could be possible na showing a little bit of experience when it comes to how Philippine football really is. Kasi you have to remember, this was the flavor that we had when Philippine football was not that more common.
Well, Yusuf got a taste of what it's like to face Philippine Army. The physicality is there. So it will be difficult to get out of that physicality if you're Philippine Army, especially if that's the only thing you're relying to. Let's see if things will be different for them as they win a throw-in.
Well, they have started using the ground balls a little bit more often right now. Philippine Army is able to penetrate a little bit into that attacking third, but they still couldn't get it inside the box kasi I feel that they really want to take their chances pag nasa loob na sila.
Areola's been fouled. He's asking for a card there, I think for a possible high boot, but only a free kick is awarded by Mick John Pineda. So you have number 31 out here, Roy Kent Badia, scaling the opposition's back line and looking where he's going to put this ball in.
Most likely a delivery into the inside of the box. We have the players standing by. In comes the delivery now.
The delivery inside. Ariola just couldn't turn his head towards the goal, but the offside flag is there to deny him of any chance of scoring.
I think that they jumped the gun a little bit too early, Philippine Army, and I think Ariola wasn't the only one who was in an offside position.
Custodio starting to play from the back. Goal scorer Hirishi just spreading it out wide for One Taguig FC. You have Olibias right now on the ball. Of course, we've known him with the Ascos development team in the past and the national team as well. Under the wings, of course, of Coach Scott Cooper. So familiarity is already there amongst this side. So Custodio, also one of the products of that squad. Long ball forward, looking for Yusuf. Coverage is there for Cortez. Tries to clear it out for a throw-in, and he does. Preventing a corner, that is, for Philippine Army.
Army reacting quicker to get that ball away into a safer space, but that also means that they have this tendency to break off of their formation quickly.
Olibias gets to it. Mark Hartman with that signature delivery inside the box, but the offside flag is up for One Taguig FC's Goldson Casemiro.
And yun yung babantayan talaga na that's what we're talking about when it comes to signing the Hart. Any of the Hartmans have that kind of skill that they really want to thread the ball from distance.
Plus, you add to the fact that on the bench, you have creators like Wright Schultz as well. So, kung titignan mo yung substitute or yung bench ng One Taguig, makakabuo ka na rin ng isa pang starting 11 against Philippine Army as well.
Parang ang makakamdaman ko na kaya nilang iswap yung buong team. But looks like there's some commotion on the pitch.
Tensions flaring up between Hiraishi and a Philippine Army player. Referee Mick John Pineda just says, alma natin, Ryan Anthony and Hiraishi, as we look into that again. A little bit of pushing and shoving between Naoto and Ryan Anthony de Sena.
Medyo konting tulakan, and that's part of their physicality from the Philippine Army troopers. But again, they have to rely more on that and less on that and more on the creativity if they want to get something through, because midfield right now is such a big area of opportunity for Army.
It's a trademark of Army to be very physical, but Kurt Dizon again on the left side. Good pass inside. Goldson walked by Bedia. Yusuf just unable to go for the rebound.
That could have almost been a simple tap in right there, but still the bounce of the ball right after the commotion at hindi siya handa, natatalbog na lang ang ball. Let's have a look at that replay right here. Shot on goal but straight to the hands, Bedia, and then that second ball, wasted opportunity again, but still it's not that much of a waste since they're already leading 2-0.
Well, the shot count is rising up for One Taguig FC in this game, and we are just in our first 15 minutes of this game. Once again, a recap: 2 quick-fire goals in the first 5 minutes. Casimiro and Hiraishi giving a 2-goal advantage for One Taguig FC. Trademark na ng Army yung physicality talaga nila,
Kung if some of the fans who have not seen the United Football League days, that was really the flavor of the AFP teams, Philippine Army, Philippine Air Force, and Navy, who also played. Sila nga, medyo matagal na nating di naririnig. But again, when you go up face to face with one of these teams, you know that there will be some elbows right here and there.
Look at that goal to Casemiro, trying to bring down one of the players in white. He's going to be called for a foul there. The pace is there for Goldson. It's just that he had a bit too much of a touch on the Philippine Army defender.
But again, Goldson would not really count that as a wasted opportunity because he has been getting plenty of that. Yung offside trap na nilalagay ng Philippine Army, minsan may nawawala sa linya eh.
Sai Villaseñor sending it forward, intercepted by Kurt Dizon, just waving his magic wand once again. Hiraishi takes it back to Mark Hartman. Ajimadi, of course, you're spoiled for options of midfielders here, creative midfielders. Another one, Bias with a cross. Oh! Great cross there from Bias, just unable to be converted by Isaac Agemang.
Wow, you could see the compression of the front three right in front of that box to give a lot of options for the wingers to put the ball in.
It's too much of a header for Agemang there. First 15 minutes so far, 2-0. Is this a scoreline that you'd expect from One Taguig against Philippine Army?
Kind of, but conceding that early was something that's not in the bingo cards for this evening for me. But again, scoring 2 at this stage, medyo parang may pagka-given na nga siya.
Where they're looking to bounce back from that 1-0 defeat against Manila Digger FC. Mind you, One Taguig, we're close to booking a ticket for the Shopee Cup last season. So they're trying to do their best and be back up there.
And it is really a big and huge prestige to represent the country, the club football. Oh, that's a bad ball right there.
Casemiro once again, good pass. Hamed to Yusuf. 3-0 for One Taguig FC. All the frontline attackers for One Taguig FC now on the score sheet. You have Yusuf giving them their 3rd goal and a real headache for Philippine Army now.
Headache is quite an understatement right there. You have Yusuf Razak just taking his chances and in the right space. Kanina pa siya persist for those second balls, and that one, just the layoff space given to him. Look at that pass. Hamed finding the open man, as open as you'd like.
I love the unselfish play from Hamed Ajimadi there. He could have taken the shot but opted to pass to Yusuf. Casemiro once again on the free. Clear this time by the back line of Philippine Army.
That's one thing that we really love seeing with Hamed Hajimadi, and not just with his one Taguig team, even the previous teams that he has, where he has the sharpest tool, the strongest boot. Sometimes if he sees an open man, he really loves to pass it.
Dizon with a throw in. Here's Casemiro once again against Sai Villaseñor. Still with Goldson. There is a deflection towards Bedia. And as early as 18 minutes in this game, I think frustration is creeping into the side of Philippine Army. Of course, why wouldn't you frustrated? You're down 3 goals against one Taguig, but they have a chance for a counterattack and they make something out of it. Clash of bodies. Play goes on for Philippine Army. Desena couldn't find the pass forward. They switched the play to the right side for Villaseñor. Long ball forward, headed away by Custodio. Hajimadi says, calm down, and brings it back to Dizon.
Army's opportunities to put that ball up front is really limited with how they dribble the ball. They tend to keep that ball far too long, and by the time that they decide to make a pass, the runners have already gone past the chance.
Hartman looking to provide an assist from the back. Pass forward by Gemang, headed away by Army. Now they take it back to their team captain, Jemar Cortez. Again, Army, like what you've said, back to factory reset they go. Being forced to defend a lot of times against one Taguig FC. Last time they faced in the transition period of the PFL, one Taguig won by 5-0, and we're past the halfway mark of that scoreline.
Yeah, and it's high probability that it could end up the same today, and we're not just talking about because of that stacked midfield, but because they have a lot of talent in front of goal as well. And right now, Philippine Army, nahihirapan silang i-maintain yung position nila. Plus the offside trap, it's a good strategy for starters, but it doesn't work against everybody, especially with teams that are able to put the ball above and with strikers that are able to outrun the line.
Well, so far, it's been questionable for Philippine Army if they're going to get a score here. Make no mistake, one Taguig is enjoying this spell of possession. Dizon with a through ball. What a lovely ball for Hiraishi. Cross. Deflection, and Casemiro called for offside.
I thought it went in as well, but when I saw the flag go up, it really was offside right there.
Let's see the replay there. Here's the cross from Hiraishi.
Lapit yan.
That's a close one to call. But a great angle nonetheless for that offside call. It's a 50-51.
More parang just a quarter of the body was already over the line, and it's the thinnest of margins, but still a good call from the linesman.
It's one of those moments when you raise the suggestions to improve the offside rule. I think it was suggested by former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger that instead of calling an offside for part of the body over the defender, you have to be offside by full body.
I think that one has already been approved and will be in effect within the next season or two, but depending on when it will reach the domestic here in the Philippines, it's quite up to the management here. But so far, that one could really make a lot of changes.
Especially with teams like one Taguig FC who likes to be on the run. Just unable to keep it in play was Kurt Dizon.
Kanina pa medyo tinatadtad ni Dizon yung left side na yan because they tend to really leave that space. One of the things that Philippine Army is doing is they're really keeping a tight line on that defense. But again, nobody is charging forward too eagerly. That has pros and cons, but at the same time, they're just giving Dizon a lot of space.
So Dizon will try to convert once again, or to provide again from that side, but this time a throw in for Philippine Army. Gatinao unable to make some thread out of it, but now here comes Desena, finding Ariola on the turn. Agemang is there to gather the ball for one Taguig FC, who's on the counter-attack and using the pace that they have. Yusuf on the right side, Tamed Ajimari waiting for it. On the turn, Jalsor Soriano with a challenge from the back, no foul call. Clean as a whistle, says the referee. Through ball looking for Gatinao. And Bandegan Fong just clearing it out of danger.
Nang hinayang ako dun sa previous na play from Army, there was an opportunity to really make that pass deadly on that left side. I think that was Bernardo who had plenty of space, but the ball got to Ariola as far as Ariola.
Ajimari once again trying to get to the ball. Casemiro almost with a brace to his name. We might have stirred a bit of conversation in our comment section with that new offside rule, Glenn. Some are in favor, some are not. Then, question is, when will it reach the shores of the Philippines as Kurt Dizon's called for offside?
Well, that certainly is something that they have to look into as well. Kasi that changes a lot of the dynamics as well. Makikita mo, may mga strikers na talagang they will use that to their advantage and just make sure na kahit kamay lang nila, nasa onside pa. That could really change the complexion of the game.
Well, again, it will be something interesting to see in the Philippine football setup, because we have pace merchants in the Philippines Football League. We know a couple of players in one Taguig FC. You have Kurt Dizon, you have Oli Bias on the other side, who's playing as a midfielder for them right now. Used to play as a winger. And yeah, things to look forward to if that new rule is going to be implemented in the Philippines Football League as well.
The only question that would remain there, because if it was a really balanced game, yeah, you would see really large score lines like 3-2 or 4-4. But what happens to teams like Philippine Army who's still trying to stitch together a good defense?
So Hartman right now looking for Oli Bias on the right side, who's taking more of a winger role with Agyemang pushing inside, as well as Casemiro. Hartman, long ball forward. Everybody's offside from that point of view, so nobody chased the ball.
Good awareness from one Taguig to know that their attacking three is in an offside position.
So if you're looking on the right side of your screen, Nick John Pineda is doing the visual count as compared to what we see in the past with goalkeepers being given like 8 seconds to control the ball from their box. Now when it's down to 5 seconds, they're getting the visual warning from the referees that time is running out. You have to clear the ball out.
And that's a good thing, especially if you want to keep the ball in the game in play.
Hiraishi with a cross. Casemiro once again looking for that header. Just unable to keep that on target.
Baba yung dating ng bola to Casemiro. So when he put his head in, it bounced onto the ground rather than into the net. Again, that's something that you really practice on the training ground, timing of those kinds of headers.
So Bedia has been exposed 3 times already in this game. How many more can he concede? That's the question, because one Taguig is really out for blood in this game. Hartman looks for his midfield partner, Hamed Hajimadi. Hiraishi, good 1-2. Shot from distance. And Hiraishi just sends that out of the playing field for the goal kick.
And again, you could see that the space being given by Philippine Army has been more focal right in the middle. And that was a good thing for that particular sequence kasi nasa gitna yung bola. It's just spreading to adapt to the wingers. That's the problem.
The idea right now to send this one out for a goal kick. Again, we haven't registered a single shot, if I'm not mistaken, for Philippine Army. Whereas the cannons are just blasting for one Taguig FC. Parang nagbago talaga yung ano no, yung laro na you would expect Philippine Army. Of course, their army, they have to fire or pull off the trigger. Right now, one Taguig has the gun and they're just taking shots after shots against against Philippine Army. Here he goes once again. Goldson brings it down. A shot, good block. Hamed, nagkahiyaan. Hireishi still with the ball. Dizon now on the left side. 1-2 with Hireishi. Dizon, you'd expect him to use that magical feet of his. Hardman once again. Long ball to the other side for Bias. Good find to switch the play. Bias with a cross. Header hits the crossbar for Agemang.
Again, a Mark Hartman pass shifting the play to the opposite side. And that kind of surprised Army. It's just not able to convert.
Hireishi right now on the ball for Taguig. Looking to flick it on for Hireishi, but they're not on the same wavelength there with Hamed Hajimari.
One of the rare opportunities na hindi sila nagkabasahan. But again, you could see how one Taguig is really using the width of the pitch to get that ball over into the box.
I love this from one Taguig. You could see Coach Scott Cooper down the touchline, not happy with that sequence. I mean, you're already leading 3-0 and you have this kind of mentality. That's just a winning mentality of a coach.
Well, he certainly don't look to be wasteful, that kind of shot.
Hajimadi being covered here. Two players in blue. Unable to get the flick on. Custodio now. Can also fire from distance. Furusuelo. Taken down by Jalsor Soriano, and the counter-attack is on for Ariola and Philippine Army, but he decides to go back and stop and reset at the back for their side.
Just not quick enough for Philippine Army. They are not aware of where their other teammates are in a quick sequence. Kailangan mabilis ka makapag-isip niyan to make the pass because you know that you're going to be under threat. You're going to be under pressure in that stacked midfield. So you have to be aware of where your teammates are to make that next pass as quick as possible.
Free kick is called in favor of Philippine Army after a challenge on Joshua Gatinao. Soriano switches play on the left side. Half an hour into this game, and one Taguig FC is on the attack once again. Yusuf scaling the opposition and takes a shot. What a goal from Abdul Razak Yusuf. What a strike from distance from the number 23 of one Taguig FC.
Wow, and Razak caught them napping there. Nakabalik na sa pwesto yung tatlo, yung critical three-man defense ng Army. However, they were really not expecting the shot to be accurate. Nobody approached him, nobody tried to block the shot. Let's have a look at that alternate angle right there. Nilipat kay Razak ang bola. You see the three men there, hindi pa nila alam kung saan pwesto. Nobody wanted to put that challenge in. Man, that was poor defending coming from Army, but that was such a sweet shot right there by Razak.
Top corner, top bins for Razak as we have a look again at our quad view replay by Upstream Sports. What a shot from Razak.
Ang ganda. And ang ganda din ng angulo na yun. You're not gonna miss much with that kind of angle.
Again, one Taguig FC on the ball and on the counter attack, but offside flag is up.
They just don't want to take the foot off the gas at the moment. They're certainly adding and adding pressure onto the already beleaguered Army defense. And right now, hindi na makaporma si Army.
Well, talagang nahatak na nitong one Taguig yung energy nitong Philippine Army. We can see Army having a little bit of a spring in their steps in the first couple of minutes of the match, but after they conceded that opening goal, everything has been looking south for Philippine Army.
And it is really a bleak situation for the troopers right now. They still cannot figure out how to get the defense really straightened out. Kasi if you ask me right now, if they have to focus on attack or defense, they really need to sort that defense out. At least they'd be able to get the points, drag it on. But right now, they are leaving plenty of spaces for one Taguig to exploit. They're like inviting the attackers.
Well, the attack won't stop until the final whistle, I believe, for one Taguig FC. Again, with the kind of format that we have in the Philippines Football League, you have the championship round ahead of you after this, or after the first round. So goal difference is really important to break those tie up in the standings.
Well, again, madi-divide itong liga na to by the third round into the top 5 and the bottom 6. And the thing is, they really will want to have all of the points they can get.
Dizon with the cross, looking for a Gemang. Brings it down for Hireishi. Bias once again on the ball. And the Gemang didn't go for it. He's offside on that part. You really have to feel for Philippine Army FC right now, Glenn. 15 years ago, they're really a force to be reckoned with, or something that you would fear on a UFL match or in a league match. But kagaya nga nung nakita ko sa comment section earlier, they're just like Manchester United. Nakakatakot 15 years ago, but now lackluster.
Well, when you bring that kind of discussion up, yeah, you could certainly put some agreement into it. I mean, like I said, before the influx, before football became a household sport, well, I'm not sure it's still there, it's there yet, but we're malayo na tayo from 3 decades ago. But 3 decades ago, Army was one of the clubs that dominated the scene. In fact, they're 65 years old as a club.
Well, the average age right now for Philippine Army, if we're not mistaken, is, I think they're at an average age of 29. So most of the players are really experienced in terms of the physical game. But the question is, can they actually adjust to the play style right now? And with 4 goals down against one Taguig FC inside the first 35 minutes of this game, I think we have our answer for it.
Well, just so you know, they are also the 2024 Men's Open champions for Ang Liga, the Philippine Army. So you know that they also are used to still winning. It's just that at the top, at the highest stage of domestic club football, it's really difficult to keep up.
Right now, one Taguig FC just having some time with the ball at the back with Mark Hartman. Iraishi on the turn. Looking for Kurt Dizon, but opts to do it himself. Sends it out for a goal kick.
Medyo binigyan na naman ng space si Naoto, and there, you just see that he wants to take that shot. Nah, it's really risk-free. I mean, losing possession, they have gotten this confidence that they're not gonna let Army into the final attacking third.
Well, I think the one thing that Philippine Army can take away, if we're gonna end the season now, or if we're gonna go into the second part of the season by this stage, is that the disparity in teams is really in front of us. We have one Taguig FC scoring 4 goals in the first half, and it's not yet over. We still have 9 minutes left, plus some stoppage time as well. And you could feel that it really is taking the wind out of their sails. They want to challenge the upper half of the standings, of course. Sino bang may ayaw nun? And with that being said, Philippine Army on the counter-attack with Palacio looking to square the ball, but the coverage is there for Custodio and Juan Taguig.
Yun talaga yung kanina pang nangyayari is they do manage to get through the midfield, but the counter-attack relies on a quick succession, quick shift. And that's something that Juan Taguig is doing better right now, and they have the lion's share of possession.
Mark Hartman resets from the back. So far, Juan Taguig is enjoying much, if not all, of the possession in this game. Almost intercepted there by Bernardo. Long ball forward, cleared away by the team captain Cortez, looking for a player up front. But everybody is on the half of Philippine Army, and as early as now, we're gonna see plenty of changes in the offing for Philippine Army.
Alam mo, one of the things that you did open up for discussion is how Philippine Army could really establish or improve itself, being that they're this old of a club and they should really be doing something to get at that level. And right now, Army is having another run at the fence here. The thing is, they're always relying on reservists and enlisted personnel. But at one point in time during the UFL, they kind of had parang a team up. I think the name was Philippine Army GTI back then, where they did employ other non-enlisted personnel.
Well, that's one thing to look out for Philippine Army if they are interested in going that pipeline of players. But so far, they're focusing more on their reservists. If a player wants to suit up for Philippine Army, you have to join the brigade. And with that being said, a new brigade of players are coming in for Philippine Army FC. You have John Celis,
Player number 21.
Jomar Acedo,
Replaced by player number 8.
Nicanor Palacio Jr. and Boogie Margarce checking in for Philippine Army.
So they decide to shift a little bit more onto their attacking side. Celis has been one of those players to really keep an eye on for Philippine Army because he is one of the quicker attackers that they have wala yun sa laki.
If there's one player that you have to look out for Philippine Army, we had this before the start of the match. We had this in our cheat sheet, if we may call it. We have listed John Celis as one of the other players to look out for Philippine Army FC. And one of the reasons behind that is that Celis has been part of the club football setup in the Philippines for the longest time as well. And he's played with plenty of teams in the UFL, the PFL. Last time we saw him, or the last time I think that he played was Green Archers, if we're not mistaken. But when he played with the Philippine Army last season for them, you could see signs of promises from John Celis.
Medyo nung nagtatawag tayo ng mga laro back then, you could really see that Celis has some sort of impact when it comes to the attacking shape of his team. And that's something that we're hoping that would change the complexion of this game.
Well, you have plenty of substitutions out here. Like what we mentioned, Boogie Margarce is in this match. Again, another legendary player for the Philippines. More importantly, the national team.
Legendary coach, legendary players. The yesteryears of Philippine football.
He wants to prove that there's still something left in the tank for himself and Philippine Army here. Question is, will they be able to get at least a goal here to boost their morale in this season? Custodio on the left side for Kurt Dizon. Plenty of time. Good block by Sai Villaseñor. That rolls out. That'll be a corner once again for Juan Taguig FC.
Medyo nag-iba nga ang hugis ng Philippine Army right now defensively. They are starting to put a little bit more people on the back line, hoping that they could shift the attack as soon as they get that ball. But at the same time, it really puts more people inside.
We're talking about classics. You have Mark Hartman here taking the corner, and this is one of his specialties as well. Look at that looping ball, header in. It's cleared only as far as another player in blue. Almost a goal there for Custodio. Goal line clearance for Philippine Army. They still have another chance. Custodio is getting bored at the back and now moving up in attack. Hartman with another delivery but not converted by the number 71 Agemang.
You really will love him as your midfielder kasi alam mo, kailangan mo lang pumuesto tapos maidadala niya yung bola malapit sa'yo. But still, the delivery is perfect but the finishing has to be improved. But again, hindi na sila nasa high pressure situation where every shot has to come in. Magagalit siguro si Coach Scott, but at the same time, they no longer have that nagging pressure that every shot must count.
And if you also look into the body language of Mark Hartman, he doesn't have to point to where you have to be. You have to know where you have to be for him to pass the ball towards your side. If not, he's going to look for another player with the opening. Talking about opening, Philippine Army still unable to do so. Ahmed Hajimadi wins the ball for one Taguig. Yusuf heads it towards a player in white, but gets it back again for one Taguig. Here's a shot just out wide for Agemang.
That was another opportunity gone begging there for Agemang, and it could have been another one to test the keeper. He was a good one. It was a good one-on-one opportunity.
Almost a golden opportunity there for Agemang, just sending it out wide for the goal kick. 2 minutes remaining in the first half, plus some stoppage time. And one Taguig on the driver's seat of the tank that is called Philippine Army.
Pagbanggaan lang ang usapan, you know that Philippine Army can come up on top with the physicality that they have. And that's a signature that they already have. Yung ability to stand or to keep the momentum going physically. But again, the creativity is what's lacking.
Foul is called against Jimwell Ariola. And Pete Forosuelo quickly restarts the play for one Taguig FC. Reishi covered by player in white. Army looking to break through. But again, the pass gone begging for Philippine Army. Counter-attack for one Taguig. Yusuf gets to the ball. Just going to get the first touch in earlier. Yusuf. Miscommunication between Hamed and Dizon. A long ball forward. Good coverage again by Forosuelo. Hajimadi sends it forward for Casemiro. It's out, but he's offside as well.
Well, and again, you could see Philippine Army really exposing that left flank of theirs when it comes to the defense. Nobody is there to stop the supply. Talaga nakikita mo na inaabangan ni Kurt Dizon that pass coming from the left side, and the compact formation being put out by Philippine Army is not doing them any good because that's not stopping the supply of the balls going into the box.
You pointed out earlier how Philippine Army swings in defense, and they're swinging wildly right now because they're opening up a lot of spaces for one Taguig as we are into the final 2 minutes in stoppage time here in the first half. One Taguig FC with a 4-goal advantage. A brace already for Yusuf. Hajimadi brings it back to Custodio. I think Agemang was pushed behind. Diaz receiving of that pass from Hartman. Forosuelo on the right side. Forosuelo, great dribble, sending it inside. Oh, good header, even better save this time for Bedia.
When you think that the ball was going to go in, that was a really fantastic save from Bedia, jumping into the ball. Minsan mo na nga makita na tatalunin niya ng ganyan ng bola, and it's a good one. Let's have a look at this angle here. Great header, but fantastic diving save.
Cat-like reflexes there for Bedia as he saved another goal-scoring opportunity against Casemiro. Down to the final minute of stoppage time. One more chance for Taguig to make it 5 before the half. Izon. Izon looks to the left, finds Casemiro. Onside for Casemiro. To the middle they go. 1-2, cleared away. Forasuelo gets to it. Thought about taking a shot, but gives it to Custodio. Look at this, Hartman playing the center back role, but more of a defensive midfielder. Good pass. Offside flag is up for Naoto Hiraishi.
And again, you would think that Mark Hartman, kanina when we were talking about it before the match, I was really thinking that Mark Hartman, being an attack-minded player, would be exchanging position with Hamed Hajimati. But no, he's really nailing down the threat from the outside.
Izon trying to stay on his feet, but unable to do so. He was tackled by defense of Philippine Army.
Ito na naman yung threat coming from Mark Hartman from that distance. It's, you know, he could bend that up and over the wall, and he could also put a really decent pass in for someone to head it in.
This would be the final kick of the ball in the first half. Hartman looking on that top right side of the goal mouth. Will he go for it, or will he just deliver this ball to one of his teammates? He asks the hard question to Coach Scott Cooper. Should I take it? Here's the delivery. Oh! What a delivery there from Mark Hartman, which allows Matthew Custodio, player number 5, to score goal number 5 for Taguig.
As a striker, as an attacker, and in Custodio's case, as a center back that's really tall, you would love these kinds of deliveries. Let's have a look at that again through the replay. Look at that delivery right there. Nice and high, lobing just right in front of Bedia, and there's nothing he could do about that from the multiple angles here.
Quad Vision replay from Upstream Sports shows you the curling ball from the majestic Mark Hartman, which sends us into halftime. Taguig FC with 5-goal advantage over Philippine Army. It's been all Taguig in the first half, be it possession, shots. More importantly, the goals are flying in for Taguig.
Well, it is no surprise that they are really determined. But what we were really surprised about was not the determination, but their resolve to really rack on the goals and keep it going. So far, it really has been a Taguig one game.
What a nice view of the Rizal Memorial Stadium as we bring you into the halftime. Casemiro opened things up in the 3rd minute, followed by Hiraishi in the 5th. Then a brace from Yusuf on the 16th and the 30th, capped off with a majestic header from an even beautiful delivery from Mark Hartman. Go for Custodio as it's 5-0 in favor of Taguig FC. We'll go to a break, and when we come back, it's the second half of the match between Taguig FC and Philippine Army FC. Back inside the Rizal Memorial Stadium as we're looking set for the second half of this third match of your Sunday triple header. Taguig FC doing what's expected of them, banging the goals, and they started as early as the first 5 minutes. 2 quick-fire goals from Casemiro and Hiraishi in the first 6 minutes. Yusuf with a brace and Custodio with that header towards the final moments of the first half. Your early assessments of the game, Glenn?
From the start, we did think that this was going to be a one-sided affair, but by how much, that was the question that we could not answer. Looking at how the first half has, though, unless Philippine Army could do something to really cover up those gaps and strengthen the defensive lines, it's still going to be, well, a floodgate open.
Goals have been coming in for Taguig FC. They've had plenty of opportunities in front of the goal mouth against Mark Anthony Badia, and everything that they've thrown at Philippine Army FC just continues to suck the life out of our Army man.
Yeah. And you did mention kanina na because of the openings that they've had. And here's the thing. While credit to One Taguig, magaganda yung goals nila. The build-up was really good, really consistent. But again, the reason why we are expecting that they would do the needful in this situation is because we know that the Philippine Army would have a lot of mistakes. That's pretty much what really opened the floodgates for them, is that the numerous, not just tactical, but individual errors being done by Philippine Army that allowed One Taguig to really capitalize. And you have to be a really good team to not mess up giveaways.
Look at the stats over here, Glenn. 17 shots, 10 of them on target, and 5 of them making it into the back of the net for One Taguig FC. Whereas for Philippine Army FC, there's only 1 shot on goal, and that's on the early proceedings of the first half. It's been physical, a lot of fouls as well for both sides. 5 fouls for One Taguig as well as for Philippine Army FC. It is expected for Philippine Army to be very physical, but if you're Philippine Army FC, more importantly, if you're coach Ronel Hener, what would you like to do in the second half?
Well, first and foremost, you really need to find a way to get the defensive line sorted out. Because one of the things that they really do lack is that reaction time. So perhaps if I cannot get my men to react quicker on the ball defensively, then perhaps adding some more obstacles in the way could help. But that would come at the cost of your offense.
Mark Hartman on your screens, proving to be worthy of being called the player to watch for One Taguig FC, has been providing a really good delivery for Custodio in the dying minutes of the first half. And let's see how things will pan out in the second half for One Taguig and Philippine Army. But before we do that, we would like to thank you all for watching this game, and also for engaging with us in the comment section. I love that how our fans in the comment section has been educating themselves or their co-viewers as well. We've seen like Sen has been asking plenty of questions about football. He's showing interest in the Philippines Football League. I'm really happy that they're doing that in the comment sections, and of course, just continue to engage. We do that in the Minsan Football Show, our the rest of the panel as well, and we hope you do that as well in our comment section. And of course, share your football excitement with us through the comment sections.
And one thing I can agree with, mahirap manood ng football mag-isa kung hindi mo alam kung paano i-enjoy ang football. So yes, I encourage you guys to ask questions, and you will find that the rest of the football community is more friendlier than you think.
Right. I really love how our fans are connecting with each other in the comment section, just like how we used to connect of the pitch or on the stands. We were on opposite sides of the grandstand during the historic Philippines versus Tajikistan game, and lo and behold, we're together here in the commentary panel.
Yes.
After so many years from that historic moment, and that's just one of the stories on how football connects people. And of course, from our fans, we want to hear it from our fans in the comments section. How do you share your football excitement to other people who's newcomers or outsiders of the football community?
Well, first, you have to find something that relates to them. And one thing, kasi I had a friend before who was a really hard basketball fan. Uninterested siya sa football because, of course, low scoring versus yung sanay ka na sa high scoring game and the 24-second shot clock. So there's a lot of differences here. But again, I have to point out that you're not just watching the goals. You're watching the beauty of the moments, yung build-up, yung frustration na hindi nila nagawa, which right now, hopefully, Philippine Army can do something about right now.
Well, second half is on here at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. Final 45 minutes for club football before we head into the international break. Again, we will have the Philippines against Timor-Leste in the new Clark City Stadium on October 14th for the continuation. But before that, another goal for One Taguig FC. And what a goal that is for number 71, Agyemang.
Wow, they caught Philippine Army napping here. Hindi pa tapos ang halftime for Philippine Army, it seems. And you could see Badia was way off his line when he made that pass. But the real critical error there was the back pass that went into a blue shirt, leading to that goal. I hope makikita sa replay kung sino sumipa.
Seems like Philippine Army is still on the break, like what you've pointed out. One Taguig FC wants to come out guns blazing in the second half. 6 goals to nil in favor of One Taguig FC, courtesy by number 71, Agyemang.
Looks like Philippine Army has now reverted back to factory defaults again when it comes to the offensive line, going for the aerial balls again. Kasi nga, they are really finding it hard to get over the midfield. But again, this is an opportunity that you really have to be accurate in doing so kasi babalik at babalik lang ang bola sa One Taguig.
Out of sync, out of mind for Philippine Army in the first minute of the second half. And here they go again, One Taguig on the counterattack. Agyemang, the latest goal scorer for Taguig, sends it to the other side. I think there was a substitution as Daisuke Sato with his first touches of the ball. Badia gets to that shot that was deflected coming from Hamed Hajimadi. Olibias now on the right. Agyemang with another cross. Hiraishi gets to it. Hiraishi with a shot. And Mick John Pineda says no goal, as there was a handball before that strike.
But again, while it was a handball, which is a really difficult timing there coming from that attacker, unfortunate that it struck the hand. But again, the positioning of Philippine Army to just allow the run from the player, double 8, to make that run into the space. Really unfortunate there, but good initiative from Naoto.
Here's a good look of the handball there from Naoto. He celebrated, but it was counted out as a handball. Farasuelo brings it down for Custodio. What a banger of a header that was from him at the end of the first half.
Ang hirap makaget over dun kasi the curve coming from that assist.
Look at that again, a pass from Hartman to Bias, but straight to the bosom of Mark Anthony Badia. Badia sends it forward, looking for Areola. Farasuelo is there to cover. Mark Hartman looks up for his next target. Now to Hiraishi, finds Daisuke Sato, who sends it forward for One Taguig, but nobody there on the right side.
Again, Philippine Army unable to make use of the little possession that they have, and want to get really quick to close in on the passing lanes and prevent them from making those passes. Again, Philippine Army needs to react quicker. When they get the ball, they need to pass it immediately, and to do that, kailangan nila maging aware kung nasa naman kakampi nila.
Chance here for One Taguig once again with Yusuf. Agyemang brings it back to Yusuf. Hamed Hajimadi with the ball now. Back to Yusuf they go. Bias looks up, sends it forward. Header from Goldson. What a header again from Goldson Casimiro. And he's now on a brace.
Kanina pa naghahanap si Casimiro ng ganyang klaseng goal with the header right there. And the delivery, again, he has been the recipient of so many good passes, but this time around, he was able to position himself better, take that header on the right spot, and direct it towards the net. Let's have a look at that there. Beyond the reach of Badia, hindi niya maaabot yan.
Look at that quad vision replay once again from Upstream Sports. What a header, what a delivery. Everything is clicking for One Taguig FC right now against Philippine Army. Scoreline is at 7 goals to nil. And if One Taguig FC scores another one, they will level their biggest win today. The last time they've won by more than 5 goals was back in April 13 of last year. An 8-0 win against another armed forces team in the Philippine Air Force. So they're just a goal away.
And again, 5-0 ang last na nagharap tong dalawang to was the scoreline. And they are now 2 goals beyond that. So this is certainly one Taguig's best effort or best result against them to date.
That's actually the first game as well that a player in their side scored a hat trick. That was Tsukasa Shimomura, who scored the hat trick for them back then. Fast forward to 2025, Yusuf, who's on the run against Philippine Army, is on course to become the second player to score a hat trick for them against another armed forces team.
Wow, tall order this one coming for Philippine Army. Now that the goal's gone to 7, well, there really is no looking back at this stage. But again, Philippine Army has to take this opportunity to figure out exactly what they need to do to seal up those really difficult positions. Eto na naman, binigyan na naman sila ng opportunity para ma-pressure ng one Taguig. You could see, iniiwan lang nila yung dalawa dun sa likod to pass that ball and really susceptible to pressure.
Philippine Army trying to get out of that danger zone. When one Taguig gets the ball, you would expect they'll go for it again, and this time on the left side with Daisuke Sato. Good ball forward. Yusuf off. Too strong of a first touch, and it's out for a goal kick.
But again, we love the intention there, just putting that ball into a decent spot with nobody around. It's just a matter of getting the first touch right.
The glory days are far off now for Philippine Army. I mean, I saw one of the comments in our live stream. If someone told me that Army would be a feeder club 10 years ago, I would have laughed. Which is actually the case. They were the 3rd best team in the 2011 United Football League. They won the 2008 FPL. But the decline started in the 2012 season of the United Football League, and from then on, since they haven't participated in tournaments or in the PFL, when it started in 2016 or 2017 rather, they've just been far behind.
Yun nga yung nangyari, and the lack of, well, firstly, I'm not gonna say that it's the lack of first or high level competition. Kasi back then, they were already on a decline. But it's the pool that they're taking their players from. We honor all of our troops right now, and we thank them for the selfless service that they do, of course. But if they want to progress as a football club,
they have to do better than this, because they're on the threat of losing one of the highest margins that an armed forces team has ever suffered at the hands of a football club. Ariola looking to break that spell for Philippine Army, but unable to do so.
But you know, if you ask me, yun nga, I'm really hoping that they would expand the pool. Wouldn't you agree na kapag ka nag-open sila ng konti, even if they still don't take in foreigners, because of course, Army yan, you can't really do that. But open your horizons to other Filipino players.
Look at this one. Ooh, Oldson scoring another goal for one Taguig FC. That was Yusuf who opened the horizon for him. You were talking about opening the horizons for foreign players in the armed forces side. But it was just too much to handle, and they've leveled their highest goals scored against an armed forces team. Look at that again, breaking the offside trap of Philippine Army.
And again, it's really supposed to be textbook stuff when you're talking about the offside trap. But not only is that difficult to pull off, again, sinabi ko na to kanina, if you have in your opposition the ability to thread that ball high and to pair that with a player that can outrun the line, that's a really deadly combination that can really rattle down, break down the walls. Mahahanapan nila ng butas.
So players down for Philippine Army, as well as the Spirits are down for our Philippine Army side here, conceding 8 goals in a span of 55 minutes. We have a substitution for Army. Team captain Cortez is checking out, and up or comes in Belgira their youngest player in their squad, 24 years of age, coming from the fruitful program of the Far Eastern University Tamaraos. Now with the Philippine Army, let's see if that will make a difference for them. Agiemang challenged there by the number 28. It was John Celis. And since we mentioned his name in the first half, we haven't felt him.
Yeah, that's true. And the speed that he carries with him has been effectively neutralized down at midfield. I don't think it's because of the height of the players alone, but that is one very big factor.
Size advantage, check for one Taguig. Cohesion, check. Goal count, check. What else can they tick off in this game against Philippine Army?
Highest scored game.
Goldson brings it down, shot.
And that's a check.
Highest scoring match in the Philippines Football League for one Taguig. That's checked off by Agiemang as he scored the 9th goal of the match for one Taguig.
Wow. And just like the commentator's curse, this one is a commentator's blessing. You're already looking at how well that ball was just delivered in that pass and the shot that come through. May nakita siyang maliit na window to thread that ball in, and he does.
So the game continues here inside the Rizal Memorial Stadium, but news hasn't changed as one Taguig FC with 9 goals to nil, and they're on the cusp of getting their 10th goal of the match. With this sequence, that will be delayed at least by Philippine Army as they concede a corner.
Now, the most goals scored against Philippine Army was 12 by the defending champions. If ever one Taguig reaches that milestone, is that some sort of like, a warning to the champs that, hey, we're after you?
They've been after Kaya FC Iloilo since they were part of the 2024 season. Again, one Taguig FC, they've been the semi-finalists of the 24-25 Philippines Football League in the final series. They were almost getting the chance to represent the Philippines in the Shopee Cup. But this time around, they're looking more and more closer to what they wanted to achieve from last season.
And think about it, last year when we saw them for the first time, we kind of said that this is a really stacked club. But at the same time, they still were trying to figure out the chemistry between each other. Kasi kakabuo lang sa kanila. And right now, it's already getting to that point.
These kind of games are the ones that Coach Scott Cooper or any other coaches would love to see, because number one, you get to assess the team that you have. Number two, you get to play with the lineups or the players that you have on the bench who can come up and who can show me something for the next coming games.
And again, the rotation of putting everybody in play, that's also important when it comes to managing not only the fitness of your players, but at the same time, kailangan na rin maging masaya ng mga players mo. They have to have their game time, and it's games like these that really give clubs the opportunity.
Another forward pass here for one Taguig FC. Agiemang being challenging Bedia, but he was able to get to the ball.
Nakikita mo na yung pagod na dinaranas ng ating troopers. You could see that the ball was theirs for the taking, but they were just really sitting comfortably to let Bedia take it, not knowing that there was already a striker on his way to steal that ball.
Philippine Army trying to salvage any kind of respect that they have out here for themselves, because make no mistake, yes, one Taguig has scored 9 against Philippine Army right now, but if they don't respect physicality of Philippine Army, as early as 5 goals up, they wouldn't bother moving forward and just bang in the goals.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned physicality, across the last 3 games, there has been the issuance of several yellow cards for the Troopers, including a very yellow card studded last game. So this is a big change to maybe just mellow down on the physicality and focus more on the technique, but it's still something that's left to be desired for the Army team.
Ariola brings it back. Nobody up front again for Philippine Army. Goldson, Casemiro being challenged. Hamed Hajimadi brings it back to Hartman. Olibias on the right side. Keeps the ball in play for Taguig. Past the hour mark, 9-0 in favor of Taguig FC, and it looks like we're going to have more as they're on the attacking phase once again. Now to Hiraishi on the left side. Trying to cut in. Good turn. Taken down by Palacio. Foul is called against Philippine Army, and this is Mark Hartman range.
Mark Hartman territory indeed. And you'd think may assist na siya. I think that's another box that he would love to tick in this particular game. A goal to his name on his debut for Taguig.
Let's see if that will come to fruition for Mark Hartman. Of course, Hamed Hajimadi is there as well. He's going to look for a goal or two.
Well,
apart from his dribbling highlights.
True. And you see it again, stepping away, the really unselfish skipper.
So Hajimadi leaves that for Mark Hartman. Look at that. Look at the nonchalant reaction of Mark Hartman. Hamed and Yusuf says, do you want me to be in front of this wall? No, I got it.
Wow.
Got it.
Just another day at the office for Mark Hartman here.
Osato is with the armband now. So Hamed gave that to him.
Ooh!
Shot straight to the gloves of Bedia. Like what we said, that was Mark Hartman range there.
Yes, and if Bedia wasn't positioned correctly there, that could have been a real threat, but it's still a good chance, a good opportunity. Medyo nakakapaka na ni Mark Hartman. So Army would really find it best to not concede in that range for any fouls.
Well, at least Medea didn't concede from that free kick from Hartman, because we all know how that script goes for Mark Hartman whenever it's on that range.
And we've not only seen it at the domestic level, nadala niya yan sa international.
Throw in favor of Taguig. So Hartman once again on the ball, provided an assist towards Matthew Custodio in the first half. Try to go for the goal earlier on. Here's another cross, and Yusuf skies that out for a goal kick.
Yusuf was in a good position to receive the ball, but again, with the pressure, that was effective pressuring from the defense to force the error.
From a low-scoring game last week, or should we say yesterday, then we head into the 3 games that we have today. Stallion winning 5-0 against Valenzuela PB Mendiola. And then Manila Digger 8-2 against Tuloy. Then at the moment, 9-0 for Taguig FC. One would argue that the classification round will separate the teams on the lower part of the league even further.
It's true, and at the same time, you really wanna, think about getting everybody at a certain level, especially if you want to call this Philippine Football League the top tier. Of course, you want to set yourself up to have lower tiers as well. And the disparity right now that's being shown, may konting improvement pa, but again, it's depending on each team on how they want to progress, what identity they have. And Philippine Army certainly just want to stick to the enlisted personnel as their pool of players, which it worked in the past when football was not that widespread. But now that ang lawak-lawak na ng pwedeng paghatakan ng players, we now have the UAAP system. We now have the smaller clubs like Tuloy stepping up to the plate. Who knows if they could use the new tide to their advantage.
Well, Philippine Army had a chance earlier through Jumel Ariola but unable to convert. I mean, not even close towards Henry Bandek and Fong. And actually, Fong can just be part of the infield players right now as Bedia clears it out. Daisuke Sato. Here's Casemiro to Hamed. Back to Casemiro, and a foul is called on Jasor.
And again, this is really getting too close to a Mark Hartman specialty zone.
Let's see this foul again, Glenn.
Good shoulder to shoulder, but again, that contact with Hamed and that final touch right there, the foot just getting in the way, and the poor contact and anticipation from the defender.
Check that. That was actually Belgira, I think, who got the foul on Hajimadi. So free kick once again for Taguig. 3 players who's someone you would expect to score a goal from this distance. You have Daisuke Sato, you have Hamid Hajimadi, and of course you have Mark Hartman. Spoiled for choices here for this free kick.
That's exactly what I had in mind. Which reminds me, when we met Sato for the first time, nagulat akong nagtatagalog pala yan.
Of course, it's part of the Philippine men's national football team. That's one thing that you would expect from him. But are we expecting a goal here from Sato or from Hamid or from Hartman?
They are really spoilt for choice. All 3 can do it.
John Pineda just keeping everything in check before he blows the whistle for the free kick, and now he does.
Ooh.
Nice give it a shot. It's the post. That was saved by Bedia. He held on to it. I think there was a contact between Bedia and Custodio. Bedia's good. He's back up to his feet. Referee blew his whistle, so they have to restart through a free kick.
Bedia just reminded me that during the peak of Philippine Army, manning the sticks was Edward Sacapano. A real legend there.
Real legend for the Philippine football setup as well. And we're talking about legends. Of course, who would forget Patrick Reichelt coming in for Taguig, had his exploits as well with the Philippine men's national football team in the past. Charismatic team captain coming in. Then Custodio checking out, as well as Yusuf. We have 3 substitutes here. You have Arash. That was Hamid Hajimadi checking out as well. His services has been appreciated by Taguig now.
Well, this is just another way to really manage the players, keep everybody playing, and at the same time prevent injuries and whatnot. Because while they have the physicality, the Philippine Army, you also have to watch out for fatigue.
So Philippine Army with John Celis looking for the pass towards Palacio. Here's Ariola, good 1-2, looking for Sai Villaseñor, who now moves up from a defensive position to an attacking role, but unable to make something out of it again.
They have returned to the low ball strategy that they have, trying to put a decent ball in front and in the middle of the park. Just unfortunate that they cannot get the passes right in the final attacking third.
Right on the get-go, Kiki Reichelt getting into the action, just coming in. Oh! Naoto Hiraishi. We had 2 goal of the season contenders earlier, and we got our 3rd, courtesy of Naoto Hiraishi for Taguig's 10th goal of the match.
Ah, goodness me. Naoto Hiraishi, look at this. From range, he sees that he's not going to get challenged. He knows that he has the quality. And he also noticed that Bedia was a little bit too far from where he could place the ball, and that was quite an accurate placement, if you could say so.
Quad vision replay once again, brought to us by Upstream Sports, of that goal of the season contender from Naoto Hiraishi.
So ayun na, dumating na tayo sa double digits, 10 goals to nil. And again, we are also seeing that the Army is starting to lose morale as well. Sometimes you could attribute fatigue and stress to these kinds of things, to the mental condition that you have. And right now, this is certainly not a good place to be if you're a Philippine Army.
Well, the only difference that I can see from my vantage point, Glenn, is that John Celis is trying to egg his team on. I know it's very difficult for a team like Philippine Army to concede 10 goals against one Taguig, but it's one thing as well to see that a player like John Celis just cheering the team on and asking them to continue the fight. I mean, the game's not over until the final whistle.
And that we can both agree on. But Army has to contend with this one first.
Reichelt with the ball. Gives it back to Hartman, but the play is going to be stopped as a player is down for Philippine Army. That's Sile Montefolca, who's down on the ground right now.
Ooh, clutching his hamstrings there. I think that could be another cause of fatigue. Lalabas na naman yung tinatawag nating magic spray.
But if he's holding on to his hamstring, you're going to have to be worried as well. Hope it's just a cramp though. But if it's something else, we've seen players leave the pitch and don't come back from those kind of injuries.
Agreed. And sometimes it's just a poor step, or yun nga, your body just giving way for pushing too much. And right now, if you are trailing with that kind of disadvantage, sometimes you do want to push further. Let's have a look at that.
Oh,
Wala masyadong contact if you ask me, no? Pero yun nga, talagang, I think it gave way.
twisted his legs and he's down. He's gonna be out. So Philippine Army 10 goals down and down by a man. Reichel almost getting his goal there. It's been headed out for a corner though.
So many opportunities again for one Taguig to add on to the tally. And again, we don't blame them for keeping the foot on the throttle right now, because they certainly want to make a statement.
Of course, at the end of the day, what they want to do is to rack up the goals, because goal difference is very important come championship round. And there is another goal. I think that's going to be credited to Kiki Reichel. Yes, it will be. And it's 11 goals to nil now. They're chasing. You could feel that they're chasing the record goal for this season so far, which belongs to the defending champions, KFC Iloilo.
Yeah, and right now, a lot of the top table teams, the upper half, would certainly look to Army as some sort of bar to really overcome. And look at that. Right there, close range, simple tap in. Patrick Reichelt did not have to really do a lot for that, but he certainly got the result he wanted, a goal.
What a goal there from Kiki Reichelt, scoring the 11th goal of the match for one Taguig FC.
Iisa na lang talaga. And there is still plenty of time. It's only the 74th minute. Plenty of football remaining in this game.
Plenty of football to play for in 15 minutes of action still to come in this game between one Taguig and Philippine Army. Here they go again, one Taguig looking for that long ball. Reichelt on the right side. Pass coming in from Daisuke Sato from the left. Kiki curling ball inside for Gemang, but the offside flag is up.
That is just too close for comfort, allowing that space again, and this time right in the middle. It could have been worse. Offside flag was there to save them this time around.
See, even us here, we're getting confused if that's a goal or not. We know it's an offside. But with things are going, one Taguig really, there's nothing else you can say. It's 11-0 in favor of One Taguig, and they want more.
Well, it certainly is a challenge to the champions. If you ask me, this is a golden opportunity that if they go beyond 12 goals, they're sending a message. And right now, they're certainly bent on just getting that done. Ooh, that was a close one there.
Soriano getting the ball and trying to clear it out for One Taguig. We've gone double digits before. And we're at it now. The same team, Philippine Army, but different opposition. I think John Pineda just keeping the keeping the respect, or just keeping it clean among the teams here.
And again, surprisingly, despite the overwhelming number of fouls, which is a signature to any armed forces game, still no cards.
11 goes up, and we're still seeing highlight reels from the likes of Naoto Hiraishi with that dribble. Hartman looking up. Aguiemang finds Olibias on the right side. Leaving it for Aguiemang was Reichelt, but that was read well by Army. Ariola uses his body, but that's been blocked by the number 92. That's Mahmoud Ali, who came on as a substitute alongside Kiki and Arash.
This is really getting difficult for Army to even look at where their attacking options are. Bedia, no choice but to just hoof it away. And again, yung the tinatawag nating long ball sa Philippine football has always been ineffective. And right now, nahihirapan sila to just even keep possession following a long delivery like that.
Is it like the case of the long ball ingrained in the legacy teams in the Philippine club football setting? But we're going to get back to that as One Taguig once again with a chance earlier. John Celis, probably the only man right now in white, trying to fight it out against the boys in blue.
Back to your question, ingrained? I'd say so, but earlier, Philippine Army, especially before conceding the first goal, looked like they weren't going to use it.
Yeah, they look like they're trying something new when they were 0-0 in the first 2 minutes. But then, everything fell apart as early as the first 6 minutes, not even the first 15 minutes of the game. And Reichelt right now toying against the defense of Philippine Army, gives it to Olibias on the right side, looking for the cross. Aguiemang not getting the header. Hiraishi now to Sato, looking for that long ball forward. Casemiro is already on a hat-trick and trying to chase a double brace. Forward movement. Rare forward movement thwarted right away by Pete Forasuelo, who's now moving up on attack, coming from the back. Forasuelo with the cross, blocked by Soriano. Foul is called against One Taguig.
Again, it's the balls being unable to get to that final attacking third. That's really the biggest Achilles heel for Philippine Army. Nakikita mo in the rare breaks that they have that they manage to carry the ball up to the midfield. But when it comes to that final pass to just get in front or behind the defense, that's where they really find it difficult.
Ariola unable to find somebody there. Again, it's already been difficult for Philippine Army after conceding 2 quick-fire goals. But when you talk about double-digit games in the Philippines Football League, I mean, it makes sense to have a classification round just to identify the teams or the disparity amongst the team after the first round.
Yes, but you would have to agree that certainly this kind of scoreline should really change in the next few years as well. I'm really hoping that the disparity between the first placer and the last placer would not be that great of a gulf to cross.
We've seen the armed forces teams in other countries like Thailand, who has Polistero back then. The early stages of the Thai league, if I'm not mistaken, they had police team over there who was also squaring off against Bangkok United and the likes out there. But I don't think we've seen such scoreline in those kind of leagues. Right now, Bedia just forced to roll the ball out because another player is down. That's Jalsor Soriano for Philippine Army. This is the one of the other challenge of fielding a team with an average age of 29. Again, the youngest player in the field right now for Philippine Army is Jesse Kyle Belgira, 24 years old.
That really shoots up the average age of the players to a really high number. And dito sa Philippine football, in the sense, parang you reach peak at around 30-ish, 35 is around the retirement age na. So you should be experiencing yung the decline around 29 to 30.
I mean, as a player, your golden years are roughly around 2021. By the time you get out of under 23, by the time you get out of the under 23 teams in a club football setting, it is expected that you are at your peak of your game.
True.
So, I mean, we would say that for Philippine Army here, plenty of the players that they have in this squad, make no mistake, are experienced in Philippine club football setup. You have Sai Villaseñor and Jalsor Soriano, who came from KFC Iloilo before they enlisted for Philippine Army. You have Jessica Belguera coming from a fruitful program in Far Eastern University. You have John Celis, who used to do his exploits in the United Football League with Green Archers United. So the experience is there, but the difference right now is the technical ability, if we should say, of the younger players or the newer generation of players, which is in full display right now for One Taguig.
Iba kasi yung kalaban ng mga armed force teams before. It was still in the infancy of the league football that we have right now. I mean, United Football League itself was no stranger to big blowouts as well. I remember, I forgot which two teams was that, but there was a 33 goal gap. I think that was one of the newcomers back then versus Loyola, something around that.
I think that was in the PFF National Championship. If I'm not mistaken, that was Blue Guards against Loyola back then.
Yeah, scary stuff din naman siya before. But again, and going back to that point that you have where Thailand has... Oh wait, something's happening.
There's actually a player down on the pitch for Philippine Army as they are trying their best to at least get a goal here. Right now, substitution as well for One Taguig. You have Olibias checking out for Ichiro Aoki.
Yeah, looks like
Another fresh legs for One Taguig.
that one. Yeah, they really need to just keep the players rolling to manage injuries and whatnot. Just unlike what Philippine Army is experiencing, a lot of fatigue, and really, some fresh legs does bring a bit more energy. Kahit isa lang yung pinaltan mo.
So let's see if there's something up for Philippine Army here as they have a free kick. Very rare for them to have. But Decken Fong punches it out. It should be the time that they could capitalize, but no, as One Taguig is on the counter-attack again, and you could see players in white just running back in defense as One Taguig is rampaging on attack. Ichiro, the substitute on the right side. With about 5 minutes remaining in this game, looking for that 12th goal to level the highest scoring game in the PFL so far. On the turn, Casemiro, Arash, Aguiemang unable to take a shot, and player goes down. Aguiemang fired off a blank, and it hit a player in white.
That's gotta hurt right there. And you just really want to put the ball anywhere near with the goal with that kind of decent shot. But would you put bodies in the way, things like these would happen.
That was Jalso Soriano was brought down. Fourth official Michael Barajas having talking to one of the players or the coaches on the touchline for Philippine Army, just explaining things that it wasn't a foul. Ichiro to Hartman, looking up, trying to send it forward. Agiemang chests it down. Akil to Arash, cleared away, and that ricochets off right shoot for a goal kick.
Opportunity for Army to clear, but again they kind of hesitated there and losing that momentum. From going back to a point that you raised earlier with Thailand and their Polistero FC, it's interesting. I just had a quick read about them, and unlike the armed forces football teams that we have, they do in fact hire non-police officers into the team, and in fact they also make use of the quota for ASEAN players.
Well, that would be interesting if Philippine Army would implement that as well on their squad in the coming years of the Philippines Football League. Question is, would they stick around? Because if you're a team like Philippine Army right now getting battered 11-0, 5-0, 12-0 in the first few matches in the Philippines Football League, one would question, are we really playing in the league that we belong to? Or is it something, or are we punching above our weights?
Well, if you put that into perspective, right now, yes, they are. Right now. But again, we are, well, aminin man natin or hindi, this is kind of like the second or third restart of our domestic top flight after the pandemic.
I've told you on that one, Glenn, because there's another chance for one Taguig. Agiemang unable to convert for the goal. We're looking for that 12th goal, but Agiemang could not deliver for one Taguig.
Kumakatok sa gate, hindi makapasok.
Nakasarado yung gate ng Philippine Army that time, or Agiemang just missed the gate.
Which happens a lot.
A long ball forward coming from the goalkeeper here, Ariola. Celis taken down. Two players down for Philippine Army, one needing medical attention, I believe.
I believe that Philippine Army could still push through and power through, and not just Philippine Army, but in general the armed forces teams can still survive in this kind of environment, but they have to get with the times as well. One good thing that could come out of the armed forces teams, it does allow enlisted personnel the opportunity to play. Well, if you ask me, then why don't they put a cap on the number of non-enlisted personnel that they can allow to play? At least they could increase the level and reduce the disparity. That's the important thing. They don't have to fully go with the flow and just hire players for the sake of football. Still allow the club to be a way for enlisted personnel to play at the highest level of football, but at the same time, make it worth their while.
Well, they'll have plenty of time to assess what they want to do with their squad, as if we look into the matches ahead of them, after this game, they'll take on Maharlika FC on the 18th of October after the international break. Then they will face Stallion Laguna FC on the 25th of October. So they have enough time to still feel each other out, or feel the tournament or the league itself. But as far as the result tonight goes, the only one thing that we're waiting for is that 12th goal, and it comes right on cue from Kiki Reichelt as they score goal number 12 and levels the highest goal scoring game so far in the Philippines Football League, and brings us into the last 4 minutes of added time here in this game.
Well, play your cards right and you could certainly get another one. But let's look at this one first. Nagulat na lang yung defense na naka-creep in na si Reichelt inside that box. Nobody there to put a foot in front of that ball and just allowed him to take that shot.
So at our 12th restart, center half, it's 12 goals to nil in favor of 1 Taguig FC. The second highest goal scoring game in the Philippines Football League this season. They're looking to add more as Kiki Reichelt is on the free. But Saibelio Sr. is there to clear it out.
Army just needs to hang on to whatever they have right now to keep it for the last 4 minutes. And on the other side, 1 Taguig still has 3 minutes to top and really send a message to the defending champions, Kaya.
Hearing a commotion on the touchline there.
Darren
It's
Hart.
one of the Hartmans. That's Darren, I think, part of the coaching staff of 1 Taguig. We'll check on that later as we have action on the field with Ariola and Ichiro.
Looks like the fourth official has managed to keep him calm for now, but it's the pointing there from the referee, which is off the screen, is signaling that it was a real heated argument.
We'll check on that if we have enough time later on. But right now, it's almost, not really almost, but it's a done deal for 1 Taguig FC. 3 points, check. Highest scoring or level, highest goal scoring, if we should say. 12-0 against Philippine Army as well. Check for 1 Taguig. If you're Philippine Army, you'd have to think now of your next match, which is going to be against Maharlika FC after the international break, who lost 2-1 against Aguilas Yumak FC. But make no mistake, they've had a major upgrade this season, Maharlika.
Yes, and again, Maharlika has been doing so well, but back to this game, 1 Taguig has really thrived. And bounce back is an understatement. Kanina nung nagsimula, we were talking about 1 Taguig wanting to bounce back. I don't think this is a bounce back. I think this is with a vengeance.
A real vengeance, if we may say. 12 goals in the bag for 1 Taguig. Maybe a minute or two more because of some stoppages as well in the added time.
Well, this is certainly taking too long, but any stoppages will be re-added depending on the referee's decision.
Medea sends a long ball forward. Gathered by Sato. Now to Reishi. To the hat-trick scorer, Casemiro. Now Agyemang. Here's Reishi once again, looking for that goal. What a pass. And just like that, that's a hat-trick for Kiki Reichelt.
And one thing that I may say, message sent. That was a threat to the PFL champions that 1 Taguig can certainly bounce back. And right now, that goal beautifully placed in front of Reichelt, that pass. And again, the threat cannot be denied that 1 Taguig possess a lot of it.
In their first high scoring game against Philippine Air Force, there's only one player with a hat-trick. This time around, there's two. You have Casemiro and Reichelt. And referee Mick John Pineda calls time for this abomination that is called 1 Taguig FC. 13 goals to nil, the highest goal-scoring game so far in the Philippines Football League. What else is there to talk about in this game, Glenn?
They've made Philippine Army pay for every mistake that they have done, both tactically and individually. This is a real showcase of firepower because every time that 1 Taguig gets an opportunity, gets that space, gets that clear path to the goal, no doubt about it, they're going to take it, and they've been taking it, 13 of them throughout this match. Have a look at the replays right now. You would see that Philippine Army has been struggling to put up a wall in front of this attacking force, and one Taguig just chipping at that wall until they broke down.
Well, if only if we could fit in all of the goals of one Taguig FC in one highlight reel from the second half, but too much time is going to be added on that highlight reel. But domination is in full display for one Taguig FC, and this is the highlight of them all. That screamer of the goal from Hiraishi, a statement game for one Taguig FC. A look into the side of KFC Iloilo. What you can do, we can do better, as they have scored one goal more on the highest goal scoring game of the Philippines Football League. A lot has happened, a lot of goals came in, but surely a lot of entertainment in this jam-packed Sunday triple header. Goals flying in from left to right. It's been a pleasure calling this game with you, Glenn. I mean, we would leave it at that. 13 goals to nil in favor of one Taguig FC. We thank you all for watching this game. Again, this is Jamer de la Cruz alongside Glenn Casas for the Sunday triple header of the Philippines Football League. So long, everybody, and good night.
Aray ko, score na naman! What do you feel right now being the man of the match?
Como você está se sentindo sendo o homem do jogo?
Muito feliz, muito feliz, fiquei bastante satisfeito com o desempenho do grupo e ter feito meus primeiros gols com a camisa do Taguig. Pode ser.
He said that he is very happy with the victory today and with his first goal with the one Taguig shirt.
Thank you very much. Congrats.